Welcome to Awakening Mindfulness at Work, a conversation that matters. I'm Pierre Khawand.
And I'm Sarah Killeen. We are bringing to you conversations and practices to cultivate presence, calm, and balance in the workplace.
So let's begin right here, right now. The topic for our conversation today is mindfulness at work. What is it? So let's paint a vision for what mindfulness at work can be. So I have several things I want to mention to you, and then I want to invite Sarah to share with us her perspective on this. And these what I'm gonna mention, we've had so many conversations about these. So this is kind of embedding the things we've been talking about for a long time. So number one, mindfulness at work is being mindful of what we're working on at every point in time, like every moment, which means asking the question, am I focused on what really matters? Am I putting my time and attention in the things that are going to make a difference for me, for my team, for the people and communities I serve? So this is the first aspect of mindfulness at work. And then there is how we're working. Are we caught up in reactivity and rushing from one thing to the next and feeling scattered and stressed and unproductive? Or are we bringing presence and intention to how we approach each task, each encounter with other people, and each moment? So, yet another dimension I'd like to bring up to this conversation is being mindful of the people around us. So, this means deep listening, recognizing the unspoken concerns and the needs behind them, and just trying to understand where others are coming from. Okay, one more thing I'd like to add before I hand it over to Sarah, and this is, by the way, probably very important, or maybe actually the most important. Mindfulness at work is being mindful of what's going on within us, where we are in terms of our feelings, our the thoughts that are occupying our mind, our sensations, how our body's doing. So yeah, it's tuning in and noticing things and noticing stress before it takes over. And also noticing joy, the little joyful moments that sometimes you just go quickly and we go to the next task without acknowledging them. So acknowledging the smallest accomplishments before they pass too quickly. So yeah, Sarah, mindfulness at work.
Um, I feel like you've already shared so many elements, and I think it's a testament to how complex being mindful at work is. It's not just one formula and one way of doing things. There's all those little pieces that are coming together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And I'd like to maybe just highlight from what I heard, that from what you just shared now, a couple of big themes or big intentions or big qualities that with our habits that we'd like to cultivate, that I think were especially important. And the first one that I heard that I think really stands out is this bringing more intentionality into the workplace. I think especially in today's kind of today's pace, this very fast paced world, when we are very often stuck in our heads, when we are disconnected with our bodies, when we are, yeah, very much in our heads, um, we sometimes just get stuck in working trances, right? Screen being completely entranced and just stuck in our screens and almost forgetting ourselves in the process, right? Forgetting our bodies, forgetting what we're feeling, and just completely absorbed, which of course can be extremely helpful, if we're trying to be productive and we want to get things done, which is what a lot of us want to do nowadays. We want to get things done. It of course, I don't want to say this is not helpful to be able to be really concentrated for a long period of time. And there is a way to do that while being really intentional about it. So while really making sure that, like you said, we are aware of what we're doing, of why we're doing
Mhm.
it, and how we're doing it. So having that intentionality, which gives a really, really powerful sense of uh, being in power. In that sense, we're not um, we're not just being thrown into the working trenches and having work thrown at us. It's we are choosing to be spending that very precious time that we'll never get back into that one task, into that one endeavor, into that one project. So that intentionality. And then the second theme that I heard from what we said, from what you said, that I think really stands out is this awareness piece, which is very linked to intentionality, of course. But the awareness piece, it's almost like it's a frame, it's a container,
Mhm.
it's a mindset, it's a state almost, and it's a state that we need to be in order to be intentional. If we're not aware, it's really hard to be intentional, right? And starting with oneself, so being aware of ourselves, being aware of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're doing, the patterns that we have at work, the habits that might not be serving us at work and in general, but especially at work. So being aware of these, and there's different ways of cultivating that awareness,
Mhm.
and and
Mhm.
then and then extending that to what is surrounding us, which I heard from what you said as well, is not keeping that awareness just for ourselves, because we're not very often working in complete isolation, right? Just us. We are dealing with a lot of stakeholders, we have a lot of interactions. So how can we extend the gift of awareness and the gift of mindfulness to others in our interactions, in our communications, in our energy in the workplace, and all those themes? So yeah, so a lot of different themes, a lot of big topics that I think we will dive into separately as well in the future in different episodes. But I think they're really coming together really nicely, and it shows that it is complex. It is complex because as human beings we are complex, right? So it couldn't be just so easy. Otherwise, we would all be super mindful at work. Yeah, those would have been my initial thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think those two themes are quite embedded and intertwined in a lot of the work that we do on the podcast and in the actual workshops. So being intentional is one, and then being aware. This awareness journey is what we're after. And all of this is not something that we have or we don't. It's these are skill sets and these are achievable. I know, Sarah, you mentioned, these are complex, and they are anyway because we as human beings, we are kind of complex. But we can make them achievable by taking them in small steps, cultivating them, strengthening them over time, and then we start to experience the aha moments, and then we start to have a different state of being and a different way of functioning in the world. So they are achievable. Um, and like every worthwhile skill, it takes time to achieve them. It's an ongoing process. Also, it's an ongoing process. It's not like, okay, I got it now. It's something we go through and we keep going through and we keep making adjustments. We may have setbacks, and the way we deal with setbacks actually, and the skill of looking at setbacks as being just part of the journey and what we can learn from them, that is also a whole skill that we want to talk about and work on. Um,
Yes, and I think
yeah.
yeah, I think we started also by painting a vision. So we're painting a vision. It's this vision, and but it's not the end goal. I think it's very important what you just said there is mindfulness at work is very much being on the journey, and it is even just thinking about that kind of things once in a while is already being part of the journey. and it's already being mindful at that moment,
Mm,
and it's,
mm,
I think, what we teach very often, which is, I think, by experience really helpful for people to remind themselves of, is mindfulness is a collection of moments. It's a collection of mindful micro moments, right? As this, right now, in this very moment, I am aware, I am intentional, I am choosing, I am, I have those, I know my mind is here, my body is here, my heart is here. In this micro moment, right here, right now. And the practice and the journey is to collect those moments and to add them in as much as possible, so that at some point, maybe they turn into, those moments become longer, right? And it's not just a micro moment, it turns into a state at some point, maybe.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
I think that's been helpful for people to remind themselves of, is the mindfulness practice is a practice of remembering. It's a practice of remembering again and again and again that we want to be mindful, or at least we're trying to.
yeah, yeah. This idea of micro moments, that's so helpful. um, as opposed to thinking, oh yeah, I can attain that state and that's it. It's much more about having those moments, having more of them over time, and making it easy for us to come back to them over time. And that is the journey, and that is so satisfying as we encounter more of those moments.
Mm,
And of course, what gets in the way sometimes is our impatience. We want to get there sooner than later. And also sometimes it's our self-judgment, which is that, conversation we have with ourselves. How are we doing? And then comparing. And all of this, that the good news is that all of these hindrances or obstacles, mindfulness and being mindful can take care of them. So the techniques and the practices, they can make space for whatever comes up, including judgment, including impatience, and treat that with kindness and treat ourselves with kindness instead of turning it into a big deal. So mindfulness is almost, it's a self healing things. It can take care of the obstacles that come up in front of mindfulness.
mm. Yeah, and maybe one word we haven't mentioned that yet, or one theme we haven't brought up, is kindness. And
Mm,
kindness is also being used left and right and in all kinds of contexts. So maybe it's a good idea to redefine what kindness is in the context of workplace, in our framework, or in what we're teaching or what we're practicing. There is this notion of, being kind is kindness towards oneself, it's kindness towards other others. And it's very importantly this ability, when we talk about kindness towards oneself, this ability to notice any kind of negative self-thought, this dialogue we have with ourselves, where we might bring ourselves we might be really hard with ourselves if we have not done something perfectly, if we've made a mistake. So what is that relationship we have with ourselves? And especially in the context of work, this can be exacerbated, if we tend to be harsh on ourselves, or we really want to be perfect to in order to accept ourselves. And at work this gets amplified, and same with how we look at others in the context of, in the workplace. So what are we thinking about when we look at others that we are working with? What does yeah what are we thinking about? What are we feeling? How do we want to relate with them? What does kindness mean to you? Actually, this is something to define personally as well, and to define as a collective, as a team, as an organization. What does being kind with each other look like? So yeah, I'm,
mm,
I'm, keen to, I'm keen to hear your thoughts about that, about this topic of kindness, and how it fits in.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this topic, Sarah, is so core. It has to start with us being more accepting and kind with ourselves, no matter where we are right now on that journey. And that would be the foundation from which it can awareness and kindness can propagate into the world. And in the workplace, that's very crucial, and it's difficult. It's not easy when we're in the workplace and our mind is going and comparing ourselves and having a fear about how are we performing and all this. It becomes even more challenging. So I have a feeling, Sarah, we're gonna have probably a whole episode on kindness and maybe several of them. so so for now though, what I would like to do is say kind of in conclusion, and I'll also let Sarah give us any closing comments she might have. First, hopefully this episode gave you a glimpse at where we're headed with this. This is not the answers, and I don't think there are like clear answers. This is a journey about discovery, and hopefully you know now where we're headed and what we want to discover with you. And you're all invited to join in. And this is not for a certain type of person or a certain role. Awareness belongs to all of us. It can start in small steps and then grow into something very powerful. So thank you for joining us. And I'll leave it to Sarah if there's any final closing comments there.
No, I think that was a great wrap up. I think maybe um, just this image or this metaphor that we are planting seeds, and it's not that we're planting a seed and then overnight, we're floating while going into the office or while logging in, and we're just nothing can reach us, and we'll never be reactive again. It's a seed. So it's something we water. It's something we water every day. Or sometimes we forget to water it for a week and it looks a little bit yellow, and it takes a little while to recover, and it's still there, it's still alive, we can still revive it. So we're planting seeds, and the invitation here is to tend to those seeds. So that's what we'll keep doing in the next episodes, and we look forward to seeing you, or at least to be with you in one way or another in the next conversation.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you soon.